My name's Michael Harrington. I'm a professor of music and music business or music management at William Paterson University in Wayne, New Jersey. I've been there for a month. My background is music. I started out by seeing the Beatles on Ed Sullivan and getting a guitar the next day, and I was a professional when I was 12, and I've always made money, and my interests have always been in music. So it's a long love of the stuff. My business background is just odd and unstructured and untrained, just making some money, making mistakes, and learning from that, and being involved in some consulting and advising to people who are trying new ventures. Or what I mainly do outside the university is work in copyright infringement lawsuits and things like that. So I've learned business in a kind of funny, indirect way. I feel I'm often self-taught, that you just go experiment, you try something. You want to learn how to play something by Stravinsky, you pull up your guitar or piano and start figuring it out. I kind of had that approach to all this, but I learned business parts of it from being paid to do music, and then sometimes not receiving the money, or various misadventures along the way. I kind of learned it that way, and learned by having friends in the music industry, and then getting more and more involved in different aspects of being a professional musician. You should learn a lot. You're supposed to, because things are going to happen to you. If you don't learn from them, you probably just stop doing it. I got into this copyright world as a consultant kind of perfectly by mistake. I didn't plan it, I didn't know what it was, but I think it came from living in Nashville, where there are a lot of musicians, there are a lot of copyright interest, there are copyright lawsuits. And I work I'm pretty familiar with a lot of kinds of music. I do a lot of rock, classical, country, jazz, world music, a lot of hip-hop stuff, R&B. There's nothing I won't fool in. And as a professor, I've been fortunate over the years to create about 18 or 19 classes in different areas. What I would usually do is say, well, I would listen to what my students might want to learn, and it's often something I was trying to learn, or something I was just learning on my own that I wanted to work in and eventually get to teach and know about. So I'd buy huge amounts of CDs, study, go to concerts, meet musicians, and learn the stuff and teach those things. So it ended up that I had enough experience, I guess, in these different areas that people would want to hire me for my musical opinions. So I kind of get, then when you're an expert witness, you learn about copyright because you get asked about it. And you have your musical opinion, but you have to know what the law is about, what copyright's about. So I had to learn that as well. And I found it fascinating. It's extremely interesting. And I just started kind of as a fluky thing by being called by attorneys. When you see what's going on, when you're in academia, it's very easy and tempting maybe to get isolated and to say you're dealing with the best people, these are situations we can create. There are no market forces per se in a teacher-student exchange or teacher-professor to entire class. If you're in the outside world as well, though, you can see, this is what's going on out there, and students would be better off knowing things about that. I'd have insight into how it's really going because I'd be in various situations and I can learn from them. And I would, of course, share those things, unless there are specifics I can't mention, but I would share the nature of the situations out there and what I think they should be learning about and what they should be doing and thinking about. Because in academia, there's often a tendency to say, well, what you do is you do well as an undergraduate, and then there's fellowships and assistantships. You go to grad school for free. You have a little stipend and you teach, and then you go on to get the next degree, the doctoral degree, and then you go back and you teach. And that is an interesting world, to just do that. I think it's okay, but to me there's more to it. There are other things that are going on, that the better I am on the outside, the better I'll be back in academia. And the better I am also as a professor, the more clout and abilities I might have on the outside. I think the two complement each other. I would never want to give either of them up. Well, so many students are going to, grow up thinking a cell phone is normal, a computer is normal, Google, good search engines and video games, all kinds of things are just normal. That's great. They have students who are 18 far more tech savvy than people who are in their 40s and 50s. That's obvious. The students need to continue and get better at what it is they're doing, and of course have an internet presence. I would think, well, why wouldn't you be, Facebook, MySpace? Why wouldn't you have videos of what it is you do? If you're if you're an actor, why wouldn't you put something up of you on YouTube? If you're a guitarist, if you're a choreographer, whatever it is you do, be publicizing it. Grab your website. Have your name.com, .net, .pro, whatever it is you're going to do. Why not start to do that in addition to the simpler things like Facebook? If you're not paying attention to technology and getting better at it, and the internet, and learning from that, it's really a bad situation. The colleges can also take advantage of that by reaching the students that way. Why not have your class on Facebook, deal with them that way, in addition to normal interactions or some other situations where you can communicate more? There are a lot of things that can be done that aren't being done yet. Or people think, well, or it even gets to the point where, and I understand this, where some faculty might not like the idea that students bring a laptop to class because they can just go ahead and be surfing the net, playing games and doing whatever, not paying attention. And that's unfortunate. If they do, they tend to, maybe the professor isn't that good, maybe they just don't feel like learning, maybe their parents are paying their tuition or something and they're not, feel driven. But so many things could be taking place by using the technology. You can have, one of the great things now is you have access to so much information and so many current things that you didn't in the old days. It used to be you had to wait till the news at 6 p.m. or so to know what was happening. Now you know so many things going on. You can participate. There are so many groups to try to influence and influence either lawmakers, or there's a lot of things that you can do with technology. And I just see that universities don't seem to take advantage of that enough.
Are they falling behind?
I think so. I think some great opportunities are going away. I think universities, the traditional ones that seem to have, buildings. I know University of Phoenix has buildings, but and that's what I'm getting at. This online stuff, why wouldn't someone take advantage of universities or higher ed that seems to reach them and be more pertinent to what is they want to do? I think the regular universities, with the incredible cost of tuition and the way it's going up so fast, why wouldn't they try to be better and to try to compete with these upstarts who are reaching students in more convenient ways? There's that part of technology and the internet that's, I think, regular universities aren't doing enough with. Some really are. There are these enlightened schools that offer online education that's probably as good as the in-classroom education, but there aren't that many. That's something that universities need to get better with. The students do come in knowing, almost all of them, coming in being tech savvy and understanding a lot. They may have had their second, third iPod, fifth iPod. Their phones have all kinds of things that entertain them and ways in which they communicate with each other. Students are usually really good at it. Like you mentioned, faculty, you'll have some very distinguished, accomplished people who may be in their 40s, sometimes 30s, sometimes 50s, 60s, who got so far in life without that stuff. People who still don't have cell phones, or, I use the university computer to do the emails, and, and I got on the internet, so that kind of thinking. Some of these people will think, well, look, I did get this far without it. And Benjamin Franklin did, and George Washington did. And sometimes technology is a distraction. And just because it's a sleek new iPhone doesn't mean what takes place on it is really as cool as the looks and the tech of it. So the people who fear the tech and haven't used it much sometimes will say, well, I'm not going to go learn it, or they can get that from someone else. When in fact, if the professor did learn it better, they'd have better ways of communicating, and they could have access to more information. So I think that's one of those problems that's significant, and where's that going to turn out? Faculty have to get better at this. Universities have to say, well, it's another opportunity to give students access to ideas, to jobs, to all kinds of things that we haven't had till now. I mean, I think you can no longer say, I'm just not going to be tech proficient. I'm not going to deal with the internet except to answer email. I think those days are long gone, and they should be. Any music school should be thinking along the lines of tech, because what is the outcome? You want the student to get employed, whether it's being a professor, whether it's being an orchestra player, but they're going to have to know what's out there beyond the typical professions. To teach, play, teach and play, there's much more to it. If the college and the university is not looking to present these opportunities and to help the students, and also to learn from the students about what's going on, I mean, the students themselves